What's good, Black Star Podcast? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Jared. Happy 4th of July, y'all. Today we're going to be doing a video from O'Shea. And we're going to be reviewing this video because there's some key points that I want to hit on in this video. And yeah, let's go ahead and share the screen. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. We're gonna talk about this because apparently they're trying to blame black men for the downfall of Joe Biden. And I'm not about to have that shit. Again, shout out to y'all. Happy 4th. Let's get it.
Imagine you're walking down the street in Cincinnati, Ohio. Let's just say, for example, you're going to the store. Then the police come right by you. One of the officers stops the car, gets out the car, and pulls the gun on you. The officer says, "Freeze! You're under arrest." And you're like, "Well, what for?" "Well, 10 minutes ago, you burned down the house in St. Louis, Missouri. So we gotta take you to jail." And you're like, "Are you serious? 10 minutes ago? You think I could have got to St. Louis, Missouri from Cincinnati in 10 minutes? Like, listen, man, get in the car and shut up. You're going to prison." You get in the car, obviously, that person repeats the same story to, let's say, for example, their superior, and they're like, "Listen, you're crazy, let the guy go." They let you go, of course, because it doesn't make any sense. But this is exactly what happens to black men every day. Black men get blamed for stupid stories like that that have nothing to do with them. Rewind. Joe Biden is the current president of the United States. He beat the former president, Donald Trump, in 2020. They are now running again. And as you know, they had a world famous debate that didn't go so well for Mr. Joe Biden. Donald Trump really touched on the fact that Joe Biden has not been so nice to the black community. This clip here went viral all across the nation.
Hitting effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Let me just go back to what he said about the police. How close the police are there. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name. And he called it to them, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
Now, excerpt of that clip, which was black jobs, did go viral in itself, but the message is clear. Joe Biden has been no friend to African Americans, especially black men, which is why he looked pretty insulted when Donald Trump was saying that. He looked also like he was ashamed of himself, and he should have. But Joe Biden didn't do so well in the debate, and it caused a lot of people in the Democratic Party to say things like this.
That said, I too was on the phone throughout much of the debate with Obama world people, with Democrats, with people who are political operatives, with campaign operatives. My phone really never stopped buzzing throughout. And the universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic. The people who were texting with me were very concerned about President Biden seeming extremely feeble, seeming extremely weak. And, you know, I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. President Biden had one job tonight, and it was one primary job. And yes, it was to litigate Donald Trump's, you know, criminality and all of those things. But he had to settle his own party. He needed to settle Democrats. Democrats, you know, they always talk about Democrats are bedwetters and Democrats are always panicking. Yes, Democrats are always panicking. They're always scared, right? They're always thinking they're going to lose. Like, Democrats are very pessimistic. This is just neurotic. Who they are. They're neurotic. But Joe Biden's job was to reassure them tonight. His job was to calm his party, to make them feel that, yes, I can do this. I have 4 more years in me. I have the ability and the stamina and the strength to do 4 more years. He did not do that. He did the opposite of that. He made them more panicked. The people who were texting me were even more panicked. They actually expected it to be better than it was. And now they're in I won't say a full-fledged panic, but it's getting there.
And even folks like this.
I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to me tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain of what we saw tonight.
Even Barack Obama couldn't stand that Joe Biden did so terrible.
But you want to know something crazy about this whole thing? I know I'm now just interrupting, but there was a lot of key information in that. What Trump said actually did spook Biden, because Trump has been looking back, especially with all his legal problems. He's been looking at what's been going on. Like, if you really want to be honest, be completely honest, Biden screwed himself when he introduced that Asian hate crime bill. That's when he really did it. Did it in with the black community. He was already sending money over to Ukraine, but yeah. Now, he's screwed.
He said this: bad debate nights happen. Trust me, I know. But this election is still a choice between someone who has fought for ordinary folks his entire life and someone who only cares about himself. Between someone who tells the truth, who knows right from wrong, and will give it to the American people straight, and someone who lies through his teeth for his own benefit. Last night didn't change that, and it's why so much is at stake in November. JoeBiden.com. As you know, Joe Biden is the former vice president to retired former President Barack Obama. But I saw an article that really pissed me off. And that article says, right-wingers are spreading misinformation to black voters through podcasts and influencers. It was written by a guy by the name of Jahan Jones.
Now I'm going to say this. Now, Philip Scott, the Black Authority, Jason Black, they're talking about those guys, and maybe they might be talking about me too, to a certain extent. Now, I got a question about this. If they see that there's a problem going on, why would you write an article saying right-wingers are spreading misinformation to black voters through podcasts and influencers? If these people see what's going on, how is it that we're all saying the same thing, seeing the same bullshit, seeing everything that's going on?
I'll read you this particular paragraph and then we will start. A new report released Tuesday highlights how the far right is spreading misinformation to black voters through popular influencers, social media, and podcasts. Over the past few years on the Read Out blog, I've written extensively about how popular, ostensibly black news outlets, influencers, and hip-hop podcasters have been used to spread the far-right propaganda and misinformation or undermine civic engagement. This report is easily the most thorough examination I've seen into how false and manipulative claims make their way from bad actors to black folks. I clicked on it so fast I almost hammered a hole in my desk. Then he goes on and he talks about three guys in particular: Joe Budden Podcast, Stephen A. Smith, and 19 Keys. All of these guys, which I never knew were Trump supporters, I never thought were Trump supporters. 19 Keys, I don't even know what the hell he's talking about. But this next paragraph is going to be important for brothers. The report notes that some of these outlets' large audiences could make them very useful in dispelling false and misleading claims. But it also highlights how some of these entities have already platformed extremist right-wingers. It also talks about some other concepts we've discussed on the blog, including efforts to promote anti-immigrant sentiment within the black community, a Trumpian strategy we're seeing unfold today, and an effort to promote toxic hyper-masculinity among black men. There we go.
Okay, so I know I didn't realize it was slow, so I do apologize about it being slowed down like that. But let's go through this shit again. Okay, so we're talking about hypermasculinity in black men. My question is this: if you're talking about hypermasculinity, supposed hypermasculinity in black men, toxic hypermasculinity in black men, my question is this: why is it that it's toxic hypermasculinity in black men when it comes down to an election season that Joe Biden failed himself? That's my real question. And also, why is it that when it comes to black men, when we show our masculinity, that is toxic and is hypermasculinity, instead of it just being us as men? See, here's the thing: when it comes to power and when it comes to power as a black man, they want you to be feminized. They don't want you to be strong. They don't want you to have a thought process. They don't want you to have a goal. They don't want you to have a vision. They want you to fall in line with the rigor of the species, which is black women. Instead of allowing, no, not even allowing, because that's the wrong type of thinking. Instead of black men being in their masculinity, they want to keep us underneath our women, because if we show power, we already know what's going to happen. They want to keep us underneath black women because they know that if they keep black women's minds manipulated into thinking that they're stronger than black men, that they're oppressed more than black men, that they're all of this stuff, they know that if they keep black women's minds thinking that they themselves will keep black men underneath that boot. And the problem is what they're seeing. They're seeing black men rise above that programming, coming up with our own process, coming up with our own ideas, building ourselves up without the help of the women, and leaving the Democratic Party and voting in our best interest. And they're afraid of that. Here's why. They're afraid because if black men build ourselves up and are not controlled by our own women, there's nothing that they can do. They can't say anything. They can't do anything. They can't say something and you just fall in line with it. It started happening when the whole no voting, no fucking. That bullshit with Trina and Saucy Santana. That shit's when it started. Because the last election, so when Trump got in, okay, black men wasn't feeling it. Then they started fucking talking about no voting, no fucking. And had strippers and shit trying to doggone force trying to basically manipulate black men into voting for Democrats. Because that's all they thought we had. And then now, this time, they're talking about they're buying fried chicken for black people. For a family of black people. So my question is this. Why do you have the feeling that you can just do whatever the fuck you want to do? And then, on top of that, basically insult us at the same time. See, the problem is, what they're trying to do now is they're trying to get Kamala Harris Kamala out in the forefront talking about voting. That was the whole bullshit with Steve Harvey. Trying to put a supposed black woman when we all know she ain't black. She ain't never claimed to be black. She ain't never been black. That woman is a fucking Jamaican and an Asian woman. She is no parts of ADOS Black America. So the problem I have with this is this. They're trying to get her in the forefront and try to set it up as, oh, you don't support black women or stuff like that. That's what they're trying to do again. And the problem is that shit ain't working. So now they're having to write articles like this.
Among black men. There we go. Let's blame everything on black men. And this is where they get it wrong. You see, so many people want to mistreat African American men and talk down to them like they are little children. We saw that with Stacey Abrams a few years ago when she was running from governor to Georgia. Just vote for Stacey Abrams and just vote like black women vote. That's what they told black men. And black men are never considered about how they feel, what their voting ideas are, what do they want in the black community or as citizens in this country. And when you get anybody who wants to think logically, it's always an insult. Hypermasculinity in the black community has no bearing on how black people feel about Joe Biden. Do you guys know what Joe Biden has done as a president? He'll arguably go down as one of the worst presidents in the black community's perspective ever. First of all, Joe Biden will be responsible for the largest migrant crisis, if not number one, in American history. We have young women in the black community or all around America who have been assaulted by foreign men. We have people in Black Chicago who are suffering, South Chicago, West Chicago neighborhoods that have been infiltrated with illegal migrants taking over resources and things like that. We have seen Joe Biden say nothing about reparations, as well as Kamala Harris getting nothing in that particular discussion. Although telling people if you vote for Trump, you're not black. Then when it comes to everything that the African American community would want, there is nothing that they're willing to offer you. They only want to offer you something with the inclusion of other minorities, which is unacceptable. And so when Joe Biden and the Democrats don't want to be accountable for these things, they blame hypermasculinity. They blame black men. Let's blame the manosphere. Let's blame the red pill or whoever else, which of course those communities do exist, but it has nothing to do with why black men feel the way they do. And unfortunately, Joe Biden lost the debate because Joe Biden is not a good debater. He never has been, and he's not a good president, and he is old, and he's a liar. That's why.
Honestly, I'm gonna say this: the Democratic hold on a lot of black people have been losing. They've been losing their power anyways. So it's not at this point. It's not even a fucking debate no more. The problem is they want to blame everything on us due to the fact that they don't want to take the responsibility of the situation that they created. There was only going to be but so much time that they were going to have just shitting on black men, calling black men trash, doing all this shit. It was only going to be a limited amount of time. Now they're trying to get us back, but the thing is, it's not working like they thought it was going to work, and they're angry about it. So what they're trying to do? They're trying to make it as they're trying to make it like this. They're trying to keep us underneath their boot as long as they can, because the new generation of black people ain't dealing with this shit no more. That's one. Two, they're trying to keep us separated because they know what's going to happen when we start building with each other. That's two. And three, you can already figure it out. I ain't even got to damn say nothing. There's power in separation, and they're afraid of it. But anyways, like, share, subscribe, channel, support the podcast, and support. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Thank you guys for listening. Bye, guys.